Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 5th episode of the 2nd season of the PrincipalED podcast. I'm your host, Grace McCullum, and I'm so excited to bring to you some members of our incredible arts team today. We have Angela David, our Instructional Leader for Arts, Janeen Gilbert, Senior and Middle School Visual Arts Teacher and Coordinator, and Adam Despinic, our Senior and Middle School Music Coordinator. Today, we're going to be talking a lot about the arts, but also its interface with the iCAST, because we will have an incredible new theater in this facility when it opens very, very soon. And maybe we'll do a future episode from the theater in the iCAST. But today, we're joining you from our Branksome Hall Theater Lab. Thus, our very dramatic setting today. I was going to dress all in black, and then I thought, no, it's too much.
Wouldn't see you. You'd be a floating head.
I'd be a floating head. That might be fun, though, for anyone who's watching and not just listening. We're so excited to have you here. Thank you so much for taking the time to come today. I know you're so busy.
You're welcome.
Yeah, our pleasure. Thank you for having us.
So happy to have you here. So what do you think? Should we just jump into some questions?
Let's do it.
Fabulous. So Angela, I have a question for you.
Yes.
So many schools, especially historically, as things have begun to emerge with more schools being invested in innovation, they're focusing on STEM, S-T-E-M, to prepare students for future economies, for the future of work. Can you tell our listeners why it shouldn't be STEM? It should be STEAM, which is what we use here at Branksome, particularly adding that A. Why is that an essential agreement? Like we're in the PYP, an essential ingredient for true innovation. And what does it stand for?
Well, it stands for science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics.
Right.
And I think that it's really important. It's the way our brain works. You said we're sitting in the theater lab, which means that we're coming in here and experimenting all of the time. The students are doing labs, and we actually call them that. We say that we're doing a lab, that students are experimenting, just that their techniques are slightly different. Why is it important? It helps us develop convergent thinking, helps students think about how they can solve different problems in a variety of different ways, and it thinks about the whole person when they are approaching problems. And it helps us to add empathy. So students are thinking about how they approach the work in terms of what another person might consider. They're trying to put themselves into the place of other people and develop that kind of thinking. And then the biggest thing is just being really, really comfortable with what isn't known. In the arts, we thrive in walking through the reeds and trying to get through and
Trust the process.
Eventually, you'll come out. It's a really, really important part of everything. If you take, I always think, and I've said this to many people in different contexts, but if you think about the process of STEM versus STEAM, and we put that into a natural context, you think about a famous person, Leonardo da Vinci. And if we think about Leonardo da Vinci, he had all kinds of science that was involved in his work. He knew about anatomy because of his drawing, and he explained that through his drawing. But at the same time, his drawings ended up helping him create wonderful new innovations. He created kinds of things that we didn't have before.
Right.
And so if he wasn't both of those things, there would be something missing.
I think people underestimate the impact that arts has on all of those other disciplines. And I think something that's always kind of pinched me about STEM without the A, science and technology and engineering and math, is that to not include the arts makes it sound like those disciplines are not creative in nature. And they are creative in nature. That has to be a skill that's practiced. And then the other thing that really stands out to me is when we talk about STEAM at Branksome, we're talking about all those, disciplines, how they can be interdisciplinary, but we're also talking about the bigger picture. It doesn't mean that all of our students are going to go into STEAM-related fields, but the creativity that you've just touched on and the ability to use that to leverage problem solving in creative ways, that's what's going to be the transferable skill into any path they decide to choose.
And those are the skills that in the arts we live in. They are our hard skills.
Right.
Things like collaboration and creativity. We're working on those all of the time.
Right.
And I think that, having the arts in there is just, it's the human part.
Yes.
Like the arts is what makes us human. And I think, like all the science and technology and math, we are, heading in these amazing directions, but it's all to improve our humanity. Yeah. And the arts, I think, keeps us grounded that what is really important is our humanity. And that having that in there is just essential to always reminding us that, yes, we can go down these like extremely complex and mathematical and, engineering problems. But then why are we doing it? It's to improve our humanity.
Yeah,
right?
that's such a good point.
Yeah, it's like, well, empathy is so key within the arts, right? So we practice that, and it teaches kids like being uncertain and not having all those exact answers, and everything being successful right off the bat, and just kind of making those mistakes and learning from that. It really teaches kids empathy, for sure.
And we need more of that, especially with the emergence of AI, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. But talking about AI and, I just think it's so fascinating. We're so scared of what AI will bring because it's unknown. But what we know for sure is that with the emergence of AI, it means that humans have to bring more to the table. We have to be so thoughtful and intentional in school about how we're introducing it and how we're layering it with empathy, bringing that humanity into AI, ensuring that the ethics are there, all links to what we're talking about. So fascinating. Angela, you're no stranger to this, given your experience abroad. Can you tell us a little bit, how did you find yourself here at Branksome Hall? Because you've had a little journey before coming here.
I have. It's a really fun journey, actually. And I've always been an arts educator. Originally, for my bachelor's degree in education, after my fine arts degree, it was in arts education. So I studied literature, but I also studied drama, dance, visual art, and music. And so I'm kind of one of these thinkers. And then I went abroad. I taught 20 years in other places I've been on every continent other than Antarctica. They don't have a school there
yet.
But yes.
Up next.
I mean,
Branksome
Hall, Antarctica.
That's not true. Don't spread that rumor.
But so I've taught on all of these different places. And one thing that was always common, I found, was that the arts uplifted the communities. And there was also a pull away from the arts. And the world economy kind of always said, we need to be focusing on math skills and all of these other kinds of things. So that was one area that I saw. And then also I saw disparity in equity of education to women. Mm-hmm. So then COVID happened. And just before COVID happened, I was already kind of thinking, I don't know if education or this formal kind of education is what I need anymore, or what I should be doing. And so I was kind of rethinking my purpose, and had already decided that I was coming back to Canada. I was going to, I did create a theatre company which empowers women through the work that we do. And of course, then COVID happened, and it was like, how are you going to make money and have a living if you are doing theatre? So I reached out to Branksome Hall. I came as a full-time supply teacher, and that's when Janeen and I met.
COVID cops.
We were COVID cops. And but what I found when I got here is that, as I had already known because I'd met Judith's friend before, the two things that I was really thinking were important in education and in my life, the empowerment of women and education of girls, is obviously very, very important to Branksome Hall. And then the idea of creativity, it's one of our core values. Yeah. And so it really spoke to me. And when the opportunity came to be more involved in the school, I was like, yes.
How could you say no? It's Branksome Hall.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. Janeen, I want to move over to you for a moment. As one of our visual arts teachers, and you're a multidisciplinary artist yourself, you're so impressive. I'd love to hear your perspective on this. So, a major study by the Brookings Institution found that students with increased art exposure saw a 13% improvement in writing scores, It's pretty incredible. A 3.6 drop in disciplinary issues and a significant increase in compassion expressed for others. So in this era where we just kind of touched on AI, so here's another revisit of that. In this era where AI can handle the technical kind of doing of the art, we're seeing kids explore that. How do you think these researched back outcomes, specifically the development of empathy, the tolerance for ambiguity, as Angela mentioned earlier, how do those give our students a competitive advantage that, AI or a machine simply cannot replicate?
Yeah. Well, in the arts, I think we're really comfortable sitting in uncertainty. Like we really are. I think it's almost like a little bit of a happy place. I know as an artist, I don't know how my artwork is going to turn out, right? We have these kind of unknowns. We do a lot of trial and error and mistakes happen and we don't know where it's going to go. But as we work and develop, we get there eventually, right? And I think working in that uncertain space, it teaches kids many different skills. Mm-hmm. So patience is key. They learn how to view other people's artwork. So those in the studio working, they're able to watch others, observe others, how they're approaching. So they're learning from others and taking that in. They learn how to think before reacting or think before they actually make a decision or do a process work. And they actually really care about the meaning of their work.
Yeah.
And they're really invested, right? And so I think that's where empathy comes in.
I was in your classroom last year, and it was my favorite part of my job is to be back in the classroom. And I love that. And visiting your classroom really stood out to me last year, exactly for this situation you're talking about. There was a student and she was really feeling frustrated because her art was not her artwork piece. It wasn't turning out the way she had envisioned it. And I could hear you coaching her. I think I wrote this to you after in an email. I was so just enamored with how you supported her, but you were able to coach her through that discomfort and work toward that. It's okay that you don't know where this is going. It's also okay that it's not really turning out the way you thought it would. That's actually part of the process. And you were giving her such specific coaching without telling her what to do. And I just think you're so skilled, and our arts team is so skilled in exactly that. It's pretty incredible, and I can see how that would influence them throughout their careers as students and professionals.
Yeah, I watch my kids in awe in the studio, right? Because they're taking those creative risks and they're putting themselves out there, and they're really trying to find meaning within their artwork, but they also they're really curious to see how other people are going to respond to their work too. So they're empathetic in them, towards themselves, to others, but also to see what are people going to take away from my artwork as well. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's really, I don't think AI can do that, right? AI is great for, getting those quick answers, responses, but AI doesn't feel the way the art students would feel creating a piece, right? They don't have the confusion or the, I don't know. That's lacking. And I think only artists and humans can really get that, right?
When calculators were brought into the classroom, it's been on my mind. I've been reading about this. It's just so fascinating to me. There was such worry from parents and educators that math was going to be dumbed down or that kids weren't going to know how to do simple math anymore. And that's not what happened. What actually happened was math became more sophisticated, elevated, more challenging, more could be accomplished at an earlier age. I kind of see the same thing with AI. The bar is raised now as generative and agentic AI. They can automate those technical tasks, right? They can automate maybe some images, videos. We kind of find ourselves at a similar crossroads. Humans have to bring more to the table. So in this new landscape, how are the arts cultivating that uniquely human skill to ensure that human creativity really remains indispensable?
Well, I think it's our judgment, right? It's our own opinions.
Yeah.
It's our own judgment of artworks or your own artwork.
Interpretation.
And so that's interpretations. And so that's lacking in AI. It's, even though it's there and it may make things easier for us, it actually challenges us, I think, to even make our work more intentional and more purposeful and meaningful. It challenges us. It brings us to a whole other level. It's almost like proving it wrong in a sense. really putting ourselves out there and taking those creative risks and using our imagination in ways that are just very unique, even with AI.
I was in a TOK classroom a few months ago, and one of the questions was, what is art? And it got me thinking about AI creating these images. And is that art? Is it the human factor that makes art art? Because it's been interpreted, it's someone's opinion, it's someone's feeling. Can the same thing be absolutely recreated using AI? I'm not sure what the correct answer is. You'll have to ask the TOK kids. But but it's kind of along these lines, right? I can see it living in both spaces, but there's a human element that I think can't be lost.
Yeah.
And part of that is we've talked about the empathy, but it's also an AI platform can't truly listen and can't truly then take that empathy to the next step. Whereas you talked about how Janeen listens, how students, a really big part of what we are teaching in the arts is how to listen, and not just listen with our ears, but to listen with our eyes, to listen with our whole selves, and really understand that, really, really deep listening.
Those
and,
nuances.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think there's also something with seeing art live and in person.
Yeah.
And AI can't do that unless somebody puts a computer screen on a wall.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go to an art gallery and view art, that's when you're the most moved by the artist and by what's in front of you. And same with theater versus like watching, seeing a concert. When you go to see that artist who you love and really connect with, like it's all in person. And those are the moments that you're going to remember. And those are the moments that are going to touch you and everybody else in the future. And it gives me some, like AI is a little bit scary, as we all know, like especially as artists, like it's, well, the unknown, yes, but then also like, it can create a jingle in 5 seconds and probably be pretty good.
It's creating tensions.
It's still just missing. I think it's missing the human part. Like we want to, we like the fact that things aren't perfect and we can connect with it. If you listen to a composer, if you look at like Beethoven, for example, I'm just throwing out the the big name composers. But if you look at his manuscripts, there's so much scribble and mess, and like you can barely read the thing. And then when you listen to his music, it's just sublime.
Yeah.
And so but like knowing that he is struggling and like really trying to craft something beautiful is like what makes it that much more amazing when you go and listen to something like that.
Even the difference, like you were saying, seeing art in person, from listening to music on a track or listening to it in your earphones, and then going in person and seeing the artist perform the music. I mean, there's an emotional connection there. There's a human kind of kineticness that happens when, I don't know, I assume everyone's a Swiftie. I'm assuming we're all Swifties.
The documentary was great.
Incredible. But of course, me and my daughters, we love Taylor Swift and we love her music, and we respect who she is as a businesswoman. But going to the concert, we never expected to feel the energy from everyone. Like you can't get that. That's the human kind of addition that you're talking about. I think, Adam, is creating that energy, creating community, creating emotion. That surge of energy is something that you just can't get from, an AI track, for sure. Well, Adam, my next question is for you. We often talk about the athlete artist at our school. We don't want to put kids in boxes and leave them there. We want to know that they can be more than just one thing. How do you think the discipline, physical awareness, the ensemble thinking of music and the arts, and specifically in your experience, of course, with music, thinking about like small motor development, endurance required for performance, that split second communication that needs to happen in an ensemble, how does that translate to other things like on the court, on the field, in the classroom?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I often find myself talking to other phys ed teachers about the similarities between teaching music and teaching phys ed, because there are quite a lot. But I kind of consider musicians almost like elite athletes have just very small muscles.
Yeah.
And in the pathway for which we learn and practice, like the repetition that goes on, and the more times we do it, the faster our neurons can make our muscles move, and the more accurate, or like the muscle memory basically is what it is very similar in whether you're playing violin, clarinet, or throwing a ball. That just repetitive motion. So that's pretty similar. But in athletics, I'm finding one of the big difference is that one of the goals of athletics is that you are training to kind of defeat an opponent oftentimes. And in music, you are practicing to create unity and beauty with each other. And that's a major difference. And the other part that's really interesting about playing in an ensemble or just playing an instrument in general, is that learning and practicing music uses 3 cortexes of the brain all at the same time, right? You are reading the notes on the page, you're watching the conductor, you're watching the people around you, using your visual cortex, which then has to translate into your own movements, like the fingers that you put down, the muscles in your mouth and throat that you're using, and then what tells you whether that is right or wrong, or is your auditory cortex.
Right.
It's really quite complicated, when you're playing music. And on top of that, when you're in an ensemble playing with other people, there's an extra layer that happens because you need to be able to play with everybody else.
Yeah.
So often in music, we say, you need to listen louder than you play, because that's really, the important skill. And that is a really high level of empathy, right? Because you are putting the group ahead of your own playing even sometimes. And I find myself saying to students, like, if you can't hear the cellos, you're playing too loud.
Right.
Because you're not playing together. And so that like fundamental goal is kind of different. And when you are playing an ensemble, when you're in a performance, like you practicing, yes, you can fix things and go over them. But when you're in that moment in a performance, like you can't stop and fix something that maybe has gone wrong. Like you just have to adjust in the moment.
Pivot and figure it out.
And it's often milliseconds of difference. Like if, somebody's playing maybe a little faster than we practice, like you can't just trudge along, by yourself. You have to go with them. And it's noticing that that's happening in the moment and just kind of doing it, and your muscles just go with it because you've practiced so much.
I loved when you said, if you can't hear the cellos, you're playing too loud. I just think even if you took that sentence, that is pretty interesting when you apply it to collaboration, right? In different contexts, whether it's on a team, on a sports team, where it's like, no, if you're taking all the air out of the room, or you're ball hogging, you're not letting your other teammates shine. Or, in the boardroom, if you're the only one talking, if you can't hear anyone else speaking, maybe it's time for you to listen a little bit more. So I just think that sentence actually is a pretty interesting one.
Made.
What did you
We're
say,
getting
Janeen?
T-shirts made.
Yes, get T-shirts made. If you can't hear the cellos, you're playing too loud.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's an interesting way to look at collaboration, an interesting way to look at team dynamics, an interesting way to think about self-reflection.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, just to finish here, I don't know if if the reflexes of being able to adjust in a music ensemble translates to a sport. But I think what does translate is the leadership skills. And I think that goes beyond sports or athletics. It's to everything. And the fact that the best leaders in music are the ones who can really listen to everybody, and kind of there's ways that you can, with your intent while you're playing, that you can get people to play with you. And that's what leadership is, right? You have a group and you bring them together cohesively and make something beautiful.
So Adam, you're an accomplished violinist yourself. How did that impact your own educational experience? You've just given us some great examples of transferable skills. How did you experience that yourself?
Yeah, I think one of the ones I haven't mentioned that is a huge player is resilience. And playing an instrument is not easy, and it takes thousands of hours, and you're really bad before you get good. And just that whole growth mindset is long and slow and can be painful sometimes. But, I feel like I'm a resilient person now. And I feel like when I look at a challenge, I don't give up.
Yeah.
And I just, you just keep going. And the other part is, I think, your like fight or flight response that's really altered learning music. And, I've gone on stage and had to perform concertos memorize for 40 minutes. And so if I'm able to do that, like writing a calculus exam is like.
And also maybe having a moment where that fails.
Oh, yeah.
Then, and having to get back up the next week and do it.
Yeah.
Both of my daughters are, they love music, and they both love to perform. And one of them, from her perspective, she got up in front of everyone and she felt that she, quote unquote, flopped. I didn't think she did, but she thought that. And getting up the next time was really hard, but she did it.
Yeah.
And I think it's exactly what you said. It builds resilience. It builds grit. That tenacity and self-confidence in like, I can overcome this challenge. I'm more than one maybe mistake.
I've never had a performance where I thought, wow, I did so well.
Really? Not even one?
No, really. Like you're your biggest critic.
Yeah. It's so true.
Even though other people might say, wow, that was brilliant, like amazing job. I'm always going, oh, I could have played this better. I could have done this better. I could have played that note more in tune. I should have held this note longer. But that's also like, it's also a good thing that you are, criticizing yourself and always want to be better.
Wanting to improve.
You have to also accept that perfection doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And you're never going to have the perfect performance, but that's okay. And, when I watch violinists or just any musicians, I say violinists because I'm a violinist. But
that's your thing.
But if I watch people play and they're just really technically profound, it's like, yes, that's amazing. But I rather listen to somebody who's sharing the music.
Yeah.
And whatever, they make a few mistakes here and there, that doesn't bother me.
That's where the artistry comes in, and this connection to emotion. And the beauty, we were talking earlier about live performance and how that creates the community. The thing that excites me when I go to a performance, I can go to watch something one night and I see one kind of performance, and then something happens to the actor or to the artist, and the next night I go and see it, and they breathe differently or they change things a little bit. And it's not necessarily intentional. It comes from that instinct, that human instinct that they have in the moment. And that's when performance is really exciting. And to know how to move from there each night so that it's not this kind of same performance every single night. It shouldn't be.
Yeah. It's like when you hear a technically perfect vocal performance, sometimes it just doesn't resonate.
Yeah.
It's when there's a little bit of grit in there, and when maybe things are not perfect because emotion maybe is taking over part of the performance. That's really when the feeling translates, and usually it's more memorable.
Yeah.
And you realize that the person singing is human too.
Yeah.
I had in the visual arts world, two little examples. When I was doing my thesis work, I was doing mold making with these large cement forms, and when I released them from the mold, one of them broke, massive, big crack, and it was a big part of the meaning behind the work and all that. So, I mean, I could have just cried and gone into a ball and said, I just can't show my work, but you have to, you learn from these mistakes and you problem solve, right? And it's like, how do you move and how do you change and alter your path in order to create meaningful work, right? So we all do that through music, theater, and visual arts. And today we had figure drawing. We're so lucky at Branksome, but we have a model come in and 10 students working around on their easels and listening to them making their marks and then turning their page around and seeing the different approaches. And some of them felt like they had mistakes on the page and some of them didn't feel like they lived up to what others were doing. But it was beautiful to see the different approaches, right? And the different mark making, and that we're all so unique, and we can have those mistakes and it's okay. And you just move on.
I love that. And I think that needs to translate, because, you know, that's something we're always striving toward, is unraveling the idea of perfectionism, and really trying to hit home this idea that there's beauty in the errors, and it's part of being human.
Yeah. And we're lucky here at Branksome because we provide those spaces for these students to make those mistakes, and those safe spaces. Like, they come into the theater, they come into the studio, they come into strings or band or vocal, and they know they're in a safe spot, that they can actually have these kind of ups and downs, and it's okay.
And this is my hope and vision for the iCAST, actually, is that it's a safe space with age and stage, where it's how it's appropriate for students to go in a curated way and experience failure. And they're able to be coached, they're able to work through it, and we're able to build upon that, like in a scaffolded way, so that when they leave us, they're really comfortable, actually, with making mistakes, with understanding how actually that can strengthen who they are, or what they know, or how they approach problems. I think it's so important. Speaking of the iCAST, our new theater will be the pearl of the iCAST, as we say, really a state-of-the-art space that will inspire the arts at Branksome for what I hope will be generations to come. You have been integral, Angela, in planning our first performance that's going to happen in the space, Nocturne. Can you tell us a little bit about Nocturne, and what will make this experience unique? And are there any teasers you can share? It's just you and I, everyone in this room and everyone listening. Very small, trusted group. Any spoilers would be appreciated.
We're really excited to work. And I mean, it was... the impetus came from me, certainly, but I just like the whole arts department has jumped on board, and this is where that unknown.
Yeah,
I had people sitting next to me, some of them, and other people who just looked at me like, "What are you talking about? This is craziness." So,
tell us what's going to make what's crazy about this. Tell us what's going to make this really unique.
It's. I mean, we're creating a performance, excited about the technology that we might be able to use, and we have never really used it, and so we're not really sure. But we're also creating something completely new.
Yeah.
And it all comes from the students. I think that is the the most special part of the performance. We're working together, sure, with Red Sky Performance, and that is a really unique kind of experience, that they get the voice of Indigenous artists to help them shape and guide, and we're continually thinking about where we are and how we are going to use this building in a way that's empathetic and thinking about the people who have looked after the land forever, and how will we continue that. The performance itself is about Branksome Hall, and it's about our journey from the time before there was a Branksome Hall till now, and everything that has happened in between. The students have jumped in as well with really great, creative, exciting ideas. Sometimes I just have to stop them because I can't type that fast when I'm trying to keep the notes. Fortunately, I have Amanda who does most of the typing, and she's faster than I am.
Shout out, Amanda.
Yes. And but one little teaser that I think is kind of fun. Students discovered this, and it kind of links AI, because we started with AI. We asked the question, what would happen in a meeting between Miss Scott and Miss Reed before Miss Reed became the principal of the school? And so we have this section of the play, which is about the performance, which is all about them meeting each other. And we wonder, we hope that from what we've read, we think that it really encapsulates the characters of the time and what was happening. I can't wait. Yeah.
How incredible. It's so exciting. And it's also no small feat to produce something like Nocturne. You have a big, big vision for this. I think for your team, but also for our students, I'd love to hear from you. What are the leadership and the change management lessons that they're learning as they go through this process?
Well, a lot of what they're learning in terms of leadership is that that idea of listening to all the different voices. They're really, students are jumping in, listening to the musicians, finding out what the dance people might be creating, and then communicating that with our artists, the visual artists, and trying to put exciting ideas on to the stage that are integrated and show a really great combination, like an interdisciplinary performance. So that idea that they are listening to each other, that they're working together, they are continually at the highest point of empathetic and values-based leadership, where they are always considering the impact of what they are saying and what will the impact of that be on our community, what will the impact be on future students, the students who are sitting right now, what's the impact of beyond our community. We are hoping that this will be something which says to the world that Branksome Hall is a very, very special place, and that and in order to do that, they're listening and they're reaching out to alums and they're finding out ways. So exciting. Yeah, they have actually, because the younger students up to grade 11 now were really disappointed for the grade 12s when we found out that we would have to, and grade 12s won't be able to perform. We're still really thrilled that they are staying involved, and I have a bunch of them coming in this evening to help with scripting. But the younger ones have been trying to find ways, and so they are creating audio, and they're going to be reaching out to the visual arts people about how they can incorporate visual and projections that will incorporate not just the grade 12s presently, but other ones who they didn't have a theater for a number of years. And so how can we make sure that all of those people are involved, even if they might not be here? So we're talking, can we do holograms? How can we do a hologram?
We have the technology.
Let's get
so
Chanela
let's do it
in here. And yeah, absolutely.
Hologram.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So we're really
a hologram of Chanela.
Yeah. We might just have to have that standing forever.
This is how we'll know if Chanela listens to the podcast.
Yeah.
She mentions that she got this hologram shout out. Janeen, in a girls' school environment, we hear a lot about the perfectionist trap. We talk about it a lot. We see it in the research. How does the art studio or the concert or the theater stage, if you want to chime in as well, how do they provide safe spaces for what we were talking about, like productive failure, safe failure, and building that emotional resilience that we really want for these kids?
I think it's teacher and feedback and talking with them. I think they feel safe in an environment that they're able to make those mistakes and share and ask questions. And that's the creative process, right? Is to make those mistakes and not think that you're going to be perfect each time, that you don't start off thinking, I'm just going to have this perfect piece of artwork or performance, that it's the process that leads up to it is just as beautiful, right, as that final product in itself. And I feel like our students feel that when they walk into our space. They also want to come and hang out all the time. So I feel at lunches, they're with me all the time. And after school, they're there all the time. So we can't get them out of the space, right? So that's
I've seen
wonderful.
you give them feedback. How do you? I'll share my perspective, but I don't want to override. So I want you to answer it first. But how do you feel they take the feedback?
I think it's how you give it, right? That's a big part, because you want to see where they're coming from, and the feedback you give is just like, this is just a thought, right? Like, I don't think you should do it this way, but it's just a suggestion, or have you thought of it this way? As opposed to saying, this doesn't look right. I know teachers I've heard in the past, like art teachers, have actually touched artwork and like drawn and physically done something to a piece of art of a student's. And that might have been very traditional back in the day, but I think it still happens. I would never do that. right? It's something that's their marks, it's their progress, it's everything that's there. I would never say that's wrong, ever.
Something I hear a lot is this, I think maybe it's an overpronounced maybe misconception that young women today especially have a hard time receiving feedback. I've seen our students get feedback. I mean, of course, they're still learning and growing in their age and stage. There's lots of room for them to grow in this area. But I mean, I give students feedback every day about, I don't know, maybe the uniform. And I don't see anyone replying to me in a way that feels, it's really specific feedback. Please correct this, or can you help me with this?
But
And
I think they
there's not a
crave
reticence to do that.
it a little bit. Like they actually
they're really good at it.
They're really good for like coming to and asking those questions, and they don't shy away from it. You may have some students that do, right? That they're maybe a little bit of a harder one to get to, but they actually do really respond well, and they want to, well, like not better themselves, but they want to learn and they want to grow as an artist, right?
Yeah.
In all ways. So I find that I think our arts departments we do a good job, I think.
Yeah. And the feedback that's also up to their interpretation too. Like I was just working with a student yesterday, and we're working on a passage, and I said something like, oh, do you think it sounds better if this note is crescendoing to this note or decrescendoing to this note?
Right.
And she's kind of looking at me like, crescendoing? And I said, I don't know, it's up to you. Like you're the one that's decides, but you just have to sell it. You have to, it's up to you how you feel about it. And she was kind of like, oh, okay.
She got the message. It's something that I really want for our students to really be experienced and good at receiving feedback and being able to apply it to learn and grow. I think we do really well. I think our arts department has a big part to play in that, because that's where our students get a lot of safe space to experiment and to feel what that failing maybe or feedback feels like. I mean, of course, that's always an area that I think every school and all students can grow in, but I think we've got such a good foundation, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how we can amplify that with the experiences that we're going to be curating in the iCAST.
And I think the people here in the arts department, I have to say how great they are at modeling, accepting feedback, because there's not one person who I have said, given feedback to themselves that has gotten upset about it or taken it in the wrong way. They also welcome me into classrooms. So I go in and sit and watch a class, and the students see me doing that, and they don't think it's weird. They're like, oh, they're not here. They know that I'm not there to play my violin better. But I'm there to give feedback to Mr. Despinic, and then in that way they see that we're all on a learning path. Yeah. And part of that learning path is getting feedback and growing from the feedback. And so I think that the arts teachers themselves are really great at just modeling the behaviors of resilience and accepting feedback and continuing on. And sometimes they take it and sometimes they don't. So that's yeah.
And that's good. I mean, that's what feedback's all about as well. You can't take every piece of feedback. You have to internalize it and understand what matches your need.
Yeah.
Adam, the last question is for you, and then we're going to go to our rapid fire questions. I'd love to hear, we've talked a lot about the translation of skills, right, from arts to other disciplines. How do you think a robust arts background, how does it support a student, or how does it give them like a leg up when they're applying for maybe some really competitive university programs, even in non-arts fields like business, law, medicine? How does it give them an advantage?
Yeah, I think we've touched on
we have
a lot of this, like, the resilience, the understanding like of risk taking, embracing failure. And I think not just universities, but I think, jobs and careers, like, in the future, that's really important. And I think, universities understand that. And just this, as an artist, it's the figuring it out.
Yeah.
Just figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
You have a blank page, and you have to just, one step at a time, figure something out. And I think that is key to so many, careers and just life in general.
The agility.
Yeah, just the ability to pivot, to change course, to, be comfortable with the ambiguity and the unknown. And yeah, I think we summed it up pretty well.
I think so.
Yeah, and it's all those approaches to learning,
Yeah.
the transdisciplinary skills that we're all teaching in the school, but so that they can collaborate by the time they walk out of here. They've got strong social and self-management skills.
Yeah.
And are able to think creatively and also critically about what is going on. I think those things are what sets people aside.
I do too. And when I'm talking with educators or parents who maybe don't know about the IB, that's where I start. I start with the ATLs. I just think that one of the most important parts of what we're really trying to accomplish with our students. Okay. Are you ready for the rapid fire questions? Yes. Okay. So you guys have said you want to do it a little bit differently. You all want to answer each question. Yeah. I love it. Okay. They're like, no, we want to do this in a different way. We're like, okay, let's go for it. In the true arts team fashion. I love it. Okay, so the first question is, because we have a playlist on Spotify of all of our guests and all of their favorite songs, and yours will be added. So what is a song that you would play on repeat?
Ordinary Day by Great Big Sea.
Oh, good one.
Good one.
It's John Bryant, Headphones. Oh, so good. Canadian artist.
Oh, I don't know this.
you're gonna love it.
I'm gonna love it. Yeah.
So, mine's by Greta Van Fleet, Heat Above.
Amazing. These are excellent additions. Okay, what's a guilty pleasure that you will refuse to give up?
Oh, reality TV, of course. Come on. But it's a balance between the Great Pottery Throwdown and the Housewives series.
Of course, you're watching the Great Canadian Baking Show. I do like that. For me, it's sweats. Wearing sweats.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Video games.
Video games. What's your go-to game?
Oof. I've been into Elden Ring lately.
I have no idea what that means, but it sounds cool. If you could switch lives with one person for a day, who would it be?
I would say any artist that's like full-time studio, working in a studio. Any artist. There's so many that inspire me, but just being in a studio all day would just be amazing.
Love that.
I said a monk who lives on a mountain, because if it's only a day, what I want to come out is to find peace so that I can take that forward into the rest.
Oh, I love that.
That's cool. For me, it's Gustavo Dudamel. He's the conductor of the LA Phil.
Why does this not surprise me? Amazing. What's the best piece of advice that you've received?
I had a prof say, I wrote it down, but some pieces are just stepping stones. When I was working on some of my sculpture pieces, and they were just stepping stones. They're going to get you to your final piece.
I love that. That's good advice. What about you?
The performance is one part of the process.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it was your technique must always serve the music.
Oh, I love that. These are profound. Good job, guys. Okay.
Deep thinkers.
So in a word or a phrase, what would you like to be remembered for at Branksome?
I say kindness.
Kindness. Me too.
Goodness.
For me, it was inspiring youth to love music.
I love that. You guys are so special, and you are a gift to our school. Thank you so much for just agreeing to give up your time and come on and talk on the podcast and really share with our community what makes the arts so important and so special here at Branksome. And I think this was a great way for us to get into really in depth. How did the arts influence everything that we do, and the role that they're going to play in the iCAST is going to be very significant. So what a great opportunity for us to talk about that. So thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for supporting the arts as you do. We feel like we have somebody who's in our corner. So thank you very much.
Because I love the arts. I love the arts. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today's episode, we're so lucky to have a part 2 because we have something that's going to be new to the podcast. It's a new theme song, and we have the composer of our theme song here with us today, Miss Karina Fung. Karina, welcome to the podcast. I'm so happy you could join us.
Thank you for having me.
It's so exciting. This idea started last year. I was in Mr. Despinic's class, and students were showing me some of the kind of jingles that they had composed and produced. And I was, maybe because I'm not musical, I was blown away by what they were able to do. And it gave me this idea of like, oh, I wonder if we might have students that would be interested in writing the theme song for the podcast. So we put out this call to action, and you submitted yours, and you are the winner. And so we have your composition as our theme song. It's pretty exciting. What made you want to participate in this initiative?
It was just kind of a new opportunity for me to experiment with other genres of music, and it was a pretty tame call, like just a approximately 15 second
Right.
instrumental piece with and it was pretty short, so
It
I
felt
just
low
tried.
risk.
Yeah.
Earlier, you were saying it also was something that you were like, oh, I could get back to composing. So what have you composed other than this theme song for our podcast?
I had to compose like a short 20-second piece for my grade 10 strings design class.
Mm-hmm.
It was interesting, and everything was online, so
Right.
it was easier.
So you've composed that and this.
Yes.
So in your second piece of music that you've composed and produced, it got chosen to be the theme song of a podcast. No big deal. That's pretty amazing. Does it inspire you? Do you want to keep composing? Obviously, this is a talent that you have.
I don't think I will like compose in my free time, but if someone needs like help to compose something, I will help them.
Okay, hope everyone heard that. If anyone needs any help, Karina has said she's available. She's shaking her head. No. Okay, you regret that. You've got a lot on your plate. You're a grade 12 student.
Maybe as commissions, but I don't think I would make pieces in my free time.
I like your entrepreneurial spirit. Perfect. Karina, when you first sat down to compose this theme, what was the very first sound or melody that came to mind? And did you start with like a beat, a piano chord? Was there like a specific Branksome feeling that you were hoping to capture?
I wanted to capture a very like light and almost airy feeling, but also like soft and cozy, for this Branksome feeling.
Yeah, Branksome is cozy.
Yeah. I think if you spend enough time at Branksome, you start to see it more like as a home and not as school.
I mean, I've only been here 18 months and I already feel like it's home to me. I love that. A podcast theme song, it's hard because it has to set a tone and you only have a few seconds to do that. How did you balance making the music feel modern and energetic while still reflecting the school's, our values and our community spirit, or the coziness, as you say?
Kind of wanted to feel a bit neutral, but leaning more to the positive side. So like, not super like hyper, like upbeat, but just uplifting, I suppose.
Right.
I want it to sound like smooth and a bit lo-fi, but yeah.
I love that because that's what I want from this podcast. This podcast came to be because of the incredible stories of people here in our Branksome community, and I wanted to uplift those and highlight them. So I think that your theme song really matches that energy quite well. Yeah, I'm excited for everyone to hear it. So walk us through your toolkit, Karina. What software or instruments did you use to build the track? And what was the most challenging part of the process?
I used a free software called Soundtrap.
Mm-hmm.
It has lots of different instruments, lots of different types of instruments. And I started with piano to create the melody. I listened to a lot of like indie pop and alternative pop as well as folklore, but I don't think folklore helped very much.
Like Taylor Swift's folklore?
No. No. More.
It always comes back to Taylor Swift with me. You're like, no, not folklore, Taylor Swift.
No.
Okay, sorry.
I'm not a very big fan of Taylor Swift, but
I'll just, you know what? That's okay. No one's perfect, Karina.
it's okay. More like, yeah, but I mostly like based it off of like lo-fi and indie / alternative pop. So like it's very cozy and soft. So
love that. Creative projects, they rarely end up exactly the way that you kind of intended that they would. Was there a specific moment throughout this process that you maybe changed directions, rewrote?
I had trouble knowing when to like stop.
Right.
Because you kind of just want to keep adding things.
Yeah.
But then at some point you do have to stop because it starts sounding like a jumbled mess of instruments. So it was difficult to find instruments that would work well together. But once you did find them, just stuck with them.
Did you have to curate a bit or edit?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard when you want to add so much. How does it feel to know that your music is going to be heard every time our listeners or our viewers tune in to the podcast?
I think it'll feel pretty good.
Yeah.
I put a lot of effort into it, so I think it'll be a refreshing addition to the podcast.
I think so too. And I love that this podcast is not about me. It's all about Branksome. It's the people of Branksome, the stories of Branksome, the friends of Branksome. And so I think it's really fitting that the theme song was written by a student at Branksome. And so we're so delighted that it was you, Karina. Now, for the moment, I think everyone's been waiting for. Should we unveil the new theme song?
Sure.
Okay. Whenever you're ready. I love it. I think it's awesome. It's such a wonderful new refresh to the podcast. And Karina, we're so grateful that you took your time to make this submission, to compose this. And I'm just so excited that you'll allow us to use it on the podcast. Thank you so much. Well, thank you so much for being here today. And thank you to all of our listeners and everyone who's watching at home. It's been wonderful to have you with us. And we'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.